Bienvenidos al Centro de Fútbol.
Hello and welcome back to Football Kentron, the only English language podcast dedicated to Armenian football. My name is Artem, and I am joined here today by our two Spanish-speaking hosts, Tito and Armen. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, doing good here.
Before we get into everything, though, if you don't already, please follow us on our social medias. We have a Twitter, we have a YouTube, we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook.
What was that?
A YouTube? YouTube.
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 Yeah.
We post, interact with us. We love that stuff. If you don't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and hit that like button on Facebook, please. Let us
We're
jump.
more fun than we look.
They can't see us though, so they can't
We
gauge.
sound, yeah.
Yeah, then we sound. Let's start off in the Armenian Premier League. We have not talked about the Premier League in a while, and we are 7 match days in this season, where it looks like
there's an Armenian Premier League.
There is an Armenian Premier League, and you can watch all of their videos and matches live on the Football Federation of Armenia YouTube channel. That may be going away soon, so take advantage of it while it lasts. The Ararat clubs, Armen, I'll let you discuss this a little bit, are absolutely dominating the league so far, right?
Yeah, Ararat Armenia actually have a perfect record under their new coach, Gunko, I think is the name. 21 points because of 7 wins and no draws and no losses. That's perfect record all around. Insane. Second, real close, only 1 loss and 3 points behind Ararat Armenia is Ararat Yerevan. Really close fight for the top. And on third place we have our friends, we could say that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
FC Sevan.
Exactly. The fortress of the lake, as we call them, because they have, not only are they third, but they have the second best defensive record, only behind Ararat Armenia, the leaders, and by only 1 goal and 14 points. That leaves them 7 points behind Ararat Armenia, the leaders, and 4 points behind Ararat Yerevan, the runners-up so far. We called it. We did call Sevan having a great defense. And
yes, because they have Kartasyan and Daniel and someone. Armen has really like pushed for Daniel to be apparent. Oh, both of them, yeah, a lot, and they're both showing up very well. Another player I actually wanted to highlight that I didn't realize played for Sevan. Well, like I knew, but it just never really like hit me. But Darakcan, the former winger for Urartu and Bekma, plays for them as well.
Very talented.
Very talented player.
And I'm actually a bit sad because FC Sevan's captain during that led to their promotion to the APL was Artem Avanessian, another great Armenian defensive talent from diaspora that repatriated and stuff, and he did a wonderful job at captaining the team. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why he left. Who was at fault there? Who terminated the contract and stuff? But imagine this defense with Khachaturov on it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really complain because they're doing well. So,
of course,
third place, we'll see where they end up. I think if I wasn't mistaken, didn't Von last season, or was it Noravang? Had a very good start to the season. They were near the top of it was Von. They were near the top of the table, and then they fizzled out. But let's see if Sevan can hold on. Speaking of fizzling out, Noah is currently in 7th place despite all of the investment in the club. They do have 1 game in hand, which if they win would take them up to 5th place. But they're pretty much underachieving, I would say, considering the amount of talent they have. I think it's very apparent that their current manager just isn't that great. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of changes in name to I don't know, man. Noah is is not being handled all that well.
Yeah,
Overall,
considering the amount of considering the amount of resources they have, they should be in a much better position than they are now.
Exactly.
And elsewhere at the bottom of the table, we have Alashkert in 9th place and Bekma in dead last. Alashkert only have 2 points that they picked up from 2 draws, and Bekma have 0 points with a negative 12 goal differential, which is kind of expected in a sense because they are all youth players.
Yeah.
They're all kids, but I suspect they will have a very, very good bounce back in later in the season.
Yeah, even if they don't, Caparros highlighted actually Bekma, like he actually took the time to speak about them, and he said kind of like, it doesn't matter what kind of results they get. The important thing is that they get this experience at the APL, considering they're kids. And
exactly.
And he seemed satisfied with what he's seeing from Bekma.
Yeah, and I think, and I agree, and it's something that we have kind of advocated for as well. It's something that is always going to be beneficial because you're giving these kids who are serving their military time, essentially is what they're doing when they're playing for Bekma, 2 or 3 years of top flight experience before the age of 21, which can prove to be invaluable in the future. I really, really strongly hope they do not get relegated, and I don't think they will. I think they will pull through because we've seen how talented some of these players are on that Bekma team. And I genuinely believe they will shine through, and we will see that translate into the under 21 national team.
Yeah, either way, it's only the start of the season. There's not much point talking about relegation right now. We just hope to see the kids do better, and there are some great names popping up of Bekma. We're gonna be talking about them real soon, actually.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the second bottom of the table, Alashkert, who made their European debut and Armenia's debut in European competition, where they went away to Tel Aviv, Israel, to play against Maccabi. Alashkert had as we have aforementioned, bad start to the league, but seemed to gain confidence after that 0-0 draw against Rangers. The final scoreline of this match was a 1-4 loss, but Alashkert did, if we're going to take a good solid takeaway from this match, score the first ever goal of an Armenian club in European competition. Let's talk about the match in itself. The game seemed to go kind of how we thought it would be, right? A lot more open because we thought Alashkert would feel they are more even competition, and that is what likely led to their downfall. What do you think, Armin?
Yeah, I think we called it, and it was like a pretty close in a way first half. And I remember talking about the first half with Tito. We were watching it. I think he has something to say, doesn't he?
No. I was going to say the same thing. I think that the first half was kind of equal for both sides. We were talking about. I remember we were talking about maybe that Alashkert could get 1 point from that match. But yeah, we had Alashkert had like those big mistakes. If you want to talk more about it, Armen.
No, I do. I do.
Yeah, so that's maybe something that went wrong, and like it turned the match upside down.
So you're saying individual errors from one specific player, right?
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
Who is that player, Armen?
The unnameable. Oh my God, I swear. I mean, at times it did look as kind of a competition for which team defended worse. Of course, clearly it was going to be Alashkert, and with Donald Moscatian playing and the other center back who we don't even know the name of. That's how bad Alashkert's defense is. I mean, the reason why the game was like it looked so open at the beginning for either side, and it looked like either side could actually get it, it's because both defenses were awful. The sad part is that Maccabi's defense, after a while, found footing and seemed more secure, and Alashkert just really never did. And of course, after like right before halftime, Maccabi was leading 2-1, pretty close scoreline at the time, with both Maccabi's goals coming from individual mistakes from Daron Voskanian, as we would have thought, sadly. And a third goal came right before halftime. Because of what? Of course, Daron Voskanian again. This time conceding a penalty kick. And of course, a team as experienced as Maccabi and as professional as Maccabi would not waste a penalty kick on the European stage.
Yeah, and I think if my memory serves me correctly, the Kancerovic saved the first penalty, but then they had a retake because he was off his line.
It was way
off. I think he made like, I don't know, 7 steps in front.
Them. Yeah, I can attest to this. He does count those stuff.
Yeah. So despite a brilliant individual effort from Mbalo, who I really am starting to like him as a player.
Yeah.
I think if he was playing for any other team, he would be scoring even more goals. Because I don't think he gets the service that he requires at Alashkert. But if he was playing for a team like Noah or Ararat Yerevan or Ararat Armenia, I think he would be a monster. But 4-1, that was the final score. Alashkert flew back to Armenia and prepped for a Super Cup against Ararat Yerevan, which they ended up winning yesterday at the time of the recording of today's Saturday. But this is coming on a Wednesday, so last week for you guys, a 1-0 win thanks to an Mbalo goal, and they still are somehow, getting silverware, which is.
I want to highlight something about this game.
Sure.
Alashkert played this game, and then this is something I have been noticing about Alashkert for like weeks, and regardless of who the coach was or wasn't, Alashkert kind of overplays their starters, and actually one of the reasons why the second half was really not a competition whatsoever in Tel Aviv was because Alashkert's players were visibly tired, and actually we were talking about this on WhatsApp. Like at the 70th minute, Alashkert was like fatigued, and their lineup just wouldn't run anymore.
Yeah, they've played with the same starting 11 for like several matches straight. It was like 3 games in 7 days or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're pulling the same thing. They're pulling They're pulling the same unprofessional decision right now. I understand it's a Super Cup and you gotta win it. You gotta do whatever you can to win it, and that's okay. But they barely won 1-0 with their first string players, their starters, against Ararat Yerevan playing their second string players. Ararat wasn't even playing their best, and Alashkert barely won. And bear in mind, this same Alashkert is playing another Conference League fixture this week on Thursday against AJK Helsinki at home in Yerevan. And that's actually one of the most, in a way, winnable games of the group stage for Alashkert. And this is not the best possible way to approach it.
Yeah, considering it's going to be the first ever home game for an Armenian club in European competition, it's going to be going, from the looks of it, managerless. Alexander Grigoryan has left his post as manager of Alashkert again. This time reportedly because of a fallout with the owner and chairman of the club, Bagrat Navoyan. Nevertheless, this Thursday, September 30th, there will, I believe it's 7 a.m. kickoff Pacific Standard Time. Alashkert will host HJK Helsinki in the first ever match, and hopefully we can pull some sort of results, but not really crossing our fingers or holding our breath for that one.
Not at all. With this many tired players, I fear the worst.
Yeah, hopefully Voskanian is too tired to play for the national team. Moving on.
That's a silver lining.
Let's talk about the women's national team a little bit. They opened up their first World Cup qualifying campaign for the first time in 10 years against Norway, amazing. A top 15 team in the world. I believe they're ranked number 12. They have several players. Almost the entire squad actually plays in the Women's Champions League. Fantastic overall team. They completely outclassed Armenia as anticipated by a scoreline of 10-0. It looked like a training game at some times, but again, we're not going to be discouraged because we saw much more encouraging signs in the second match, which was a home game against Poland, where Poland took a 1-0 win after what seems to be a pleasantly surprising match that we can build upon. What are your thoughts on the matches, Armen?
Yeah, I mean, on both games and the window overall, I'm more than happy. This is finally, of course, without even considering the results. That doesn't matter at the moment. It was amazing, really. I mean, the first game was already emotional to see the girls playing all the way, like and fight every ball, even until the last minute against one of the best teams in the world. First competitive game in like 10 years, as you said. I think it was 8 years, and the first home game later on in 10 years, right on Armenian Independence Day. That was sick. And then actually watching Captain Olya Osipyan getting like a little emotional and choked up during the anthems. You think about it and you say, I can feel identified with this team, you know? It was like they fight.
Oh my God,
they fight like, no, it's okay. It's like they fight. They know what they're representing and they want to be there. And even like when things start going their way in offense, which was the one thing that wasn't pulled off, we're gonna see a whole different team.
Yeah, and like we said, this team and like Anatol Devosyan previously said, the expectations aren't necessarily high, not because we don't think the team can win or draw, but it's just because, you know, this is a fresh team. And that's the way we have to think of it. And this team was in fact missing several players that play abroad. So it's a work in progress, and it's gonna be for years. And we just have to enjoy the ride, honestly. And their next match,
they're making history.
Yeah, they're making history, and they're, you know what, their next set of matches in October are very winnable or drawable. You know, we can hopefully see a point. On the 20th, they go away to Albania of October, and then on the 25th at home against Kosovo, which is a match that we think that is very likely the best opportunity to get 3 points. But as it stands, Armenia is currently at the bottom of the group. Of course, 0 points after 2 matches with a negative 11 goal difference. But you know what? Let's just see what they can do. We love watching them. We love talking to them. We have frequent interactions with the women's national team players. They're always very pleasant to talk to. And, you know, we just hope the best for them, or we're always going to support them.
Yeah, this is history being made. We're witnessing history, Armenian history.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our next topic, one that we haven't done in a while. Armenian players abroad. Let us go around the world and see how our players are doing.
What a way to open it, huh?
Yeah, right. Edo Spertsyan, and get ready, Tito, this one's coming to you, who is currently now valued over 1 million euros according to Transfer Market, has had a very, very good start to the season and has cemented his place, from the looks of it, in the Krasnodar starting 11. Tito, how do you assess Spertsyan so far this season?
I think he's doing a great job. He has already scored 1 goal and 1 assist. The assist was went viral on Twitter because it was an insane dribble assist against Ahmad. And the club owner, Sergei Nikolaevich Haroyan, praised him in recent interviews, saying he's proud that Edo is playing for the Armenian National Team. So I hope we can see more of Spertsyan in next national team matches.
Are you listening, Don Joaquin? Crazy.
For real, though.
Armen, this guy is like, I think what we saw in this past couple of games for Krasnodar against Akhmat, against Rostov, it's exactly what we needed against Liechtenstein, and yet he sat on the bench, much to our frustration.
I still can't wrap my head around it, and I don't know, I never will.
Yeah. Elsewhere, also in Ruski land, right? Artem Avanessian returns from injury. Armen thinks that a national team call-up couldn't hurt, considering our wonder boy, Bryasko Balakian, is very much likely not going to be joining the national team. Let's talk about Balakian, actually, for a short period of time. So they had he's been doing okay, I would say, with Boca Juniors. Not the best. They had a recent managerial change. Yeah. And it seemed to be favoring Balakian more. He is having to fight for a spot a little more. He is not playing a full 90 minutes, which he never really does. But they went through the Argentinian Cup quarterfinals with a win on penalty kicks, where he played 80 minutes, and now they're on to the semifinals. But let's hear from a very non-biased person. Tito. How is Balakian doing in Argentina?
Well, I think that this manager change was a good thing for him, because with the other manager, he was playing like up front as the only striker, and for what we saw of him in Huracan, he's more. I think he's more comfortable playing on the side, more on the right side, and that's like the position that he's playing right now. So I think that's something good for him. But well, unfortunately, like we talked about recording the episode, here in Argentina, the league doesn't stop for the national team window. So he already said, if I'm not wrong, that he's trying to get used to in playing for Boca, so he isn't going to travel for the national team.
You think he's not going to make it?
Yeah, so that's something, I don't know if bad for us, because I think that our national team is the strong part of our team is the attack. So we have another options for those positions, but yeah, it would be good to have him. But I think we are not going to see Bryasko on our national team, at least for this year.
Interesting. Well, we can talk about replacements shortly when we get to the national team. But in the meantime, let's move on Let's stay in Russia, I guess. Let's just wrap Russia up. Artur Galoyan, who plays in the Russian second tier, and Artur Avagymian, who plays in the Ukrainian Premier League, have been on fire so far this season. Galoyan, who we were all hoping would be part of the Armenian National Team squad in the recent set of matches because he has been such a in such good form. We were unfortunately met with Galoyan. I don't know if there was a translational error or something there, but it's like that one meme. Oh, mom, can we have Galoyan? No, we have Galoyan at home, Galoyan. That's what it felt like. Not many people know about Artur Avagymian. Arme, can you give us a little bit more insight into the player?
By all means, Adam. Yeah. Artur Avagymian, one of our boys here. He's 25 years old. He's a winger, born and raised in the Ukraine, of course, like over 100,000 Armenians in the Ukraine. And actually, one of a very interesting focus point, I think, about him is that he made his youth career in Shakhtar Donetsk, played with a youth league, like the under-21 version of the Champions League for Shakhtar, and he was the captain of both Shakhtar Donetsk and Ukraine under-21 national teams. What happened, though? When he was about like 21, 22, he said, you know what? Thank you very much, Ukraine, but I want to play for Armenia because I'm Armenian. What happened then? I think any of you guys can answer that, right? What happens when an Armenian...
If you've been listening, if you've been listening to our show, you would know that means instantly dropped from the squad.
Exactly. He was dropped. He was frozen out at first, step by step, like kind of a slow choke, if you will. And over time, he was released off his contract terminated from Shakhtar, not called to Ukraine under-21 anymore after having been their captain. He had a short spell in other Ukrainian teams before actually joining Alashkert Yerevan. I believe it was 3 years ago. Yeah, exactly 3 years ago when he was 22, 23. And he had a fallout with Alashkert owner Bakrat Navoyan.
Seems to be a theme here.
Yeah. We could go over that a little in depth later on, but basically he wanted to play in Alashkert because he felt that way he was closer to getting Armenian citizenry and playing for the Armenian national team. But there was a conflict of interest there. He was benched, and that means he won't play. He won't play means he won't get his national team call-up. He got angry, as he should have, and left. And now he signed for Chernomorets Odessa, a pretty decent mid-table club in the Ukrainian Premier League. Used to be bigger, and now Artur is like leading them back into their past prime days. He has like everything we need. He's a leader. He's a talent. He has pedigree. He's rising up to the occasion for his club. There really is no reason why Caparros shouldn't consider him.
Yeah, and you know what's kind of surprising to me in all of this is that there was a certain point in time that if you played in the Ukrainian league, you were pretty much guaranteed an Armenian national team call-up. I mean, Henrik played there, Glazarian played there. Who else played there? One of the
Yedigarians, both the Yedigarians.
Yeah, both the Yedigarians played there. A ton of players have played there. There you go. That's the other one I was thinking of. Galen Mukherjee. Well, also, I mean, who else played there? Someone that recently got called up to the national team. Urartu striker.
Urartu striker. Artur Miranyan, of course. He was also actually kind of teammates with Artur Avagymian because he was also from Shakhtar Donetsk and Ukraine under-21. And I was actually going to say another non-Ukrainian, this time non-Ukrainian born Armenian, Artem Avanessian, born in Armenia, born and raised in Armenia, played in the Armenian Premier League his whole life, went to Ukraine for 1 or 2 years, had a great spell actually, and I usually used to watch some of his games, and he was doing great. And for some reason, he returned to the APL, but he was up to the challenge in Ukraine.
Yeah, and to throw some statistics out there to give a little bit of context to people, for Odessa so far in his career, he's made 48 appearances with them, scoring 12 goals and assisting eight times. So he has 20 goal contributions in 48 matches. In this current season, he has 3 goals and 1 assist in 8 appearances.
Wow, so, literally. So, a direct goal participation every 2 games.
Yeah, so his output is very, very good. Overall, in his career with Odessa, his output has been 33%. So he's had a goal or an assist every 1 out of every 3 games, which is a pretty good output.
Yeah, and this season even better.
Yeah, and
he's assuming a more leadership role.
Exactly. So I think if we're talking about an outside chance for a call up to the national team, he should be one of them. Instead of like Geloyan, for example, he would be a much better option because he's younger, he's better, and he's already proven. So it's, things leading up there. Speaking of players that are younger, better, and already proven but made terrible decisions. Edgar Babayan has finally transferred out of Latvia, Riga. Yes, I was trying to remember Riga.
That's how bad that was.
Yeah. After their very embarrassing Conference League playoffs loss, he is now in Cyprus. He has played a couple of matches for Paphos already, and hopefully, if he starts playing decent again, maybe he can get back into the national team picture. I don't see him getting called up for this next set of matches because it doesn't seem like he's played much. Yeah. But someone who has been playing a lot, has gone crazy, and for some reason hasn't really translated to the national team yet, Vahan Bichakjan is murdering the Slovak league. Like, it's like not even funny. I mean, he had a brace, was it, against Slovan Bratislava, the current defending champions, which was like one of them was goal where he was like pretending to be dead pretty much, and like came back to life and just scored an absolute banger into the top corner. They lost today 2-0 randomly to a random team. But they are still near the top of the table and fighting for it. This is something that I have a question about Vahan that I want to pose to you guys, but I'll wait for our national team segment of this episode to ask you guys. Is there anything else you guys want to add, Tito?
That's intriguing, though.
No. I think the thing that I want to add about Bichakjan, we can talk it on the national team segment.
Okay. Well, speaking of national teams, I'm just transitions on fire today. The guy who should be captain, Varazdat Haroyan, has had a very, I would say but he's had a good start to life in Spain. Cadiz got their first win. Increasingly better, yes, that's for sure. Cadiz got their first win in the La Liga of the season, a 2-1 win away to Celta Vigo. And then Vato also played the full 90 minutes for Cadiz in their 0-0 draw against Barcelona. It's one of the matches that we had highlighted that we wanted to see, because now that Haroyan's going to be playing up against better players week in, week out, and this was the first real stern test where he was marking Memphis Depay the whole match, and it was really, really good to see. Some statistics here quickly. Cadiz have only conceded 3 goals in the 300 minutes that Haroyan has played. In the 180 minutes that Haroyan has not played, they've conceded 5 goals. So, statistically speaking, the stats favor playing Haroyan versus not playing Haroyan.
Definitely. It's obvious.
Tito, being a Spanish speaker, watching Spanish football, how do you assess Haroyan's start in La Liga?
I think the start is a good start. I think also that, of course, we have the stats, and the stats are in favor for him, but sometimes the stats doesn't really reflect what's actually happening. The few minutes that I saw from Bato playing in La Liga, I think that you can see like there's the La Liga is in a different level for him, but it's not something that it's a problem for him. I just think that it's like, I don't know if say lost, but you can see that the other players are like in another level. But I think that
like they're used to.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time for him to adapt to this new league. But what you can clearly see on him when he plays is that he is the center back that, like, he's the manual of the center back in I don't know how to say in which way, but he's a tough guy, and he's someone.
He's like the stereotype.
You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to face him. I think that that's something that can help him if there's, like, I don't know how to say it, like a skill difference. He can complement. No, sorry. He can like like. No, I don't know how to say.
We get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like if there's a like there's a talent gap or a performance gap, he can
fill it with that.
Exactly, he can benefit of toughness, and that's actually how he got away with basically putting Memphis Depay in his back pocket all game long. I mean, Memphis had to change positions to like see himself a little closer to ball possession.
Yeah, and another thing that I noticed in this game against Barcelona versus the previous games against Celta Vigo, against Atletico, and against the other teams that he's already faced is that he was a lot more vocal in this match. He was doing exactly what he does with Armenia. He was making sure the line was always fixed. He was yelling at his fullbacks. He was, making sure his central defensive partner was close to him. He was yelling at the holding midfielders, telling them to draw back deeper. He was being very vocal. And in the first 5 or 6 matches or so, he wasn't like that. He was still shy. He wasn't sure, what his place in the team is going to be. But the natural leadership quality that he has is starting to already come out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a matter of time that he will adapt to the new league and the new team, and of course a new different
the new language,
a new life, if you want to say it that way.
I mean, if you think about it, you're right, because it's not just the jump in the leap in level terms from Kazakhstan and even the RPL, the Russian Premier League, to La Liga in Spain. It's not just that. It's also the different language. It's also going from playing 5 years in Siberia to playing in the southernmost spot in Spain, which is basically a desert and heat. Is a lot of factors at play. And I think he's doing well.
Yeah, so far, he has around 400 minutes in 5 appearances. They've played some great games. They've lost twice. He played 45 minutes only against Osasuna the first half, and then he was subbed off, and then they proceeded to lose the game after that. Mm-hmm. And he was on the bench against Sociedad in the 2-0 loss. So realistically, I mean, he hasn't been when he's on the pitch, they're drawing or they're winning. When he's off the pitch, they're losing, and that's just very apparent. So hopefully,
that's a reality.
Yeah, it's the reality of it. I think no matter what anyone tweets to you on Twitter, the reality of it is the defense is much better off when he is on it. Hopefully, it's just something that goes to show the rest of the European top 5 leagues that they can take a chance on an Armenian player. And I think, and I have a hunch that we will see a lot more Armenians in Spain very soon. Now, moving on to our last topic of this episode, we are going to be briefly discussing the Armenian national team. It's not really formatted, no real thing. We just kind of want to talk about the last window and our disappointments in the squad selection, the lineups. We don't want to do our usual squad predictions that we would normally do, but rather we just want to have a general debate on what each one of us would like to see this window, kind of a hope versus reality type situation. Our opponents that we will be facing in October is Iceland away, which in the last window, amid an ever-growing player scandal that these Icelandic people are facing, they conceded, was it 8 goals in 3 games? Is that the statistic, Armin?
Yes, that's right. In the last window.
Yeah, they're not in the best shape right now, which is the best possible time to play them. But also simultaneously, we're not in the best shape right now, so it might not be the best time to play us. Elsewhere, Romania kept 3 consecutive clean sheets. The last team to score on them was us, Armenia, in that 3-2 very memorable win that we had. But they face Germany in their opening match. So hopefully Germany can wear them out a little bit. I'm going to open this up to the floor. What are your hopes? What do you want to see in this next window? That could be players, that could be style, that could be what is it that you're hoping to see? Or rather, let me frame this a little bit more specifically. When the squad gets announced, which by the time this episode goes out, we anticipate within a couple of days the squad will be announced. What would it take for you to look at that squad list and say, I feel good about this one? Let's start with you, Armin.
Mm-hmm. Well, overall, I would say that considering the kinds of rivals we have, I would like to see overall a more like fast-paced kind of team. Players that move quicker, that maybe less possession and more speed, maybe less. I love Alexander Karapetyan, but I think he should be snubbed out of this one, even though he was solid in the last window. Of course, Ishkan Geloyan isn't it. I don't know, man. I want to see more of the likes of Artur Miranyan, Garen Melkonian, players that can profit of fast-paced counters. I would say Edgar Babayan, but again, I don't think he's found footing at his new club and his new life in Cyprus. Yeah, basically that's what I want to see, and I'm a bit concerned not just about the fun zone that we mentioned in our previous podcast, and yeah, not so much fun for us, of course, but rather for our opponents. Yeah, I wouldn't like to see Daron Gamo and Weimar, but at the end of the day, that's going to be coach's decision. But yeah, another player I would, and I actually could see Caparros dropping is Eric Vardanyan, especially considering how bad he played last time out.
Yeah, I think those kind of spaces like Galoyan, like Vardanyan, although I do think Vardanyan is a amazing player.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I did want to see him in the national team picture. He doesn't fit the style, and that's just that was just fair. It was just
now's not the time. That's it.
Yeah, now's not the time. That's all it is. Let's pitch this to you, Tito. What would make you look at this team sheet or the squad and say, I feel good about this one?
I don't know if I have like some player or some name for this. I think that despite the last results, the squad was well chosen. I don't know how to say, but I really don't know. Not about the full squad, but I hope to see Spertsyan starting both matches.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. And this is gonna. Speaking of starting in matches, this is the second question I wanted to ask you guys. Against Germany, and I believe also against Liechtenstein, we finally saw the attacking lineup we wanted to see, or that we were hoping to see, and that we think is the strongest. It is. We had Tigran Barcelona, we had Horik Baramian, we had Sargis Adamian, and we had Henrik Mkhitaryan leading the line. So on paper, that is the strongest lineup strongest attacking lineup Armenia can put out. Why don't you guys think that? Why do you think that didn't work as well as we would have hoped it? Because on paper, if you put those front four up, they should be scoring like 20 goals against that Liechtenstein team.
Exactly, that's the thing. We said it. That's on paper, and football is, and life actually, is much more. We're going philosophical now. These things are much more than just stats and transfer values. As Tito was mentioning earlier, sometimes reality doesn't correspond to what happens, like to the stats. Numbers ain't all what it's all about, and we have seen it. We have seen it for like 6 years, I would say, that Heno just doesn't click with the team, and as much as everyone loves him because he is a lovable character, he's just a humble guy, he's a good guy, but and a wonderful player. But when he's on the pitch, and especially if you're gonna give him the armband and he's gonna lead the team, that's a lot of weight on his shoulders, and that translates onto the team. As I mentioned, Heno didn't even have a say in how Tico Barzeghian messed up one of the best chances we had to basically snatch the 3 points against Liechtenstein. Why? It was actually subconscious, that one. Aside from Heno not marking in the penalty in Liechtenstein goal, aside from that, Heno kind of waits on Tico's head, on the back of Tico's head, because he thought of Heno before thinking about an actual striker that was in a way better position, and that's the subconscious things and that add up. There's a lot of things at play here, and a lot of things people don't see, and I think a coach should, especially a coach like Caparrós.
Tito, what do you think? Why wasn't that attacking lineup just able to convert how we would have hoped?
I don't know if I want to talk about Heno, but yeah, I agree with you that at least on paper, that was the attack that we all wanted to see. I had my doubts about Heno because the team was playing well without him, and I think that the position where he plays at his best is on the right side, where Tico was playing, where Tico is playing also, and it was something that I wanted to see, but I wasn't very sure how it would work out, and well, we clearly saw that it didn't work out. I don't see Heno as the important piece for the creation of the game. I see him more playing like I said, on Tico's position, and I think that Tico is more important right now for us. And I really don't want to say more about Heno because
it's gonna get ugly.
Yeah, it's gonna get ugly, and it's not something against him, but
exactly, no, it's not.
But I think he doesn't have like a spot on this national team, at least not in the starting lineup right now.
It doesn't click. It doesn't click.
What would you say then? What would be your solution? Would it be to play Spertsyan instead of Henrik, or where does Spertsyan fit into that equation?
You and me?
Yeah, I think that Spertsyan can clearly play on that position. Maybe not too much on the attacking position that Heno plays. A little bit more on the back, but yes, I really prefer Spertsyan over Mkhitaryan for these matches.
And what about
you? I think with Spertsyan, before I forget, because I'm a very forgetful person, I have like 10 thoughts on my mind at the same time. So quick thoughts with Spertsyan. Two different things. One, like a very important Edo against Heno competition, like on the squad, and a different one on Edo Spertsyan's kind of play style. The first one, I'm going to talk about the latter. Edo being so young and such a talent, you don't want to waste him. You don't want to like ruin him before he starts like exploiting that talent and living up to that potential. You gotta know how and when to play him. You gotta use him wisely. And of course, Krasnodar coach, the new coach, I think it was one of the Berezutsky brothers, if I'm not mistaken, a former CSKA star. That's what I remember. He took over Krasnodar and he's doing a great job at knowing how to deploy and make the most of Edo. For the national team, I think he needs to start only when we are expected to have a close game or 50%, at least 50% of possession when we have gonna have the ball for ourselves. He's not the type of player you want in counter-attacking football. You want, defending when we're gonna be defending a lot. For instance, I don't know, say against Romania or Germany, I wouldn't have played him. But the game against Liechtenstein, that was the perfect opportunity. With his level, he would have ripped them apart. He would have opened right through that defense, that tightly knit defense. It was tailor-made for Spertsyan. So that's one thing. The second thing about Spertsyan is like he is by far and obviously by now the rising star of Armenian football. As such, and that actually creates a lot of I don't know how to put it, but kind of not resentment, but doubts. That creates doubts in any Armenian national team attacking player, and Heno is not the exception. Heno is 33 years old now, bear in mind, or 32 going on 33. He's not getting any younger. He is a player that we have seen over and over again. He has a strong ego. It's not a bad thing. It's just he does, and he does feel a little bit threatened by the mere presence of Spertsyan in the locker rooms, and that was visible. So that's going to be an issue, for Caparrós, and I wish that were not the case. But for that not to be the case, Heno should have been dropped the way he was in the last semester, in the last 12 months, where most of the times we got great play, great performances.
The manager you're thinking of currently of Krasnodar is Viktor Gocharenko. He is Belarusian, formerly of CSKA Moscow and Ufa, and he was also assistant manager with Leonid Slutsky under Ural and Kuban Krasnodar, as well as Bate Borisov.
There you go.
So there you go. Just to clarify that for our listeners, in case they're wondering, which for all one of you that is wondering. So here's my follow-up to that to both of you. We have a exciting set of youth talent currently with Vahan Bichakjan, with Gira Haroyan, with Edo Spertsyan. These three players in particular, they didn't see much minutes in the set of qualifiers. And these players have been, I would say, pretty important.
Experience.
Yeah. So one, this may be a two-pronged question. One, what sort of value do you think these three youth players can bring? And two, how can you fit these players into the national team while still simultaneously getting the best out of Tigran Barseghian, for example, who has been our best attacking output in the past year? Let's start with you, Tito.
I don't think that Haroyan should get a lot of playing time right now. Not because I don't like him. I really like him and I want to see him play. But I think it's too early for him. He just started playing this season in a first division team, and it's the Armenian Premier League. So not saying that the Armenian Premier League is bad, but it's just his first experience. But I think that
yeah, it's like it's his first steps playing competitive footy week in, week out.
Well,
yeah, I think
a quick counterpoint to that. He's only played 174 minutes so far this season for Ararat Armenia, but he has scored 2 goals.
Yeah, no, he's an amazing player, and I hope we can see more of him. But I think it's too much pressure, and of course, right now because I'm seeing the notes here, and it was I don't know where I read it, but it was like saying if we don't win. Anything but a win would see us out already. So that's against Iceland. So if we put that kind of pressure on him, I think it's not going to work. Not for Armenia and not for him. So
exactly.
I think
that's fair.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I don't think Giro. As for Giro, I don't think he should start right off like for the next year. I mean, especially since he's being actually used mostly as a super sub at FCAA. I think Caparros should mirror that and not start him, but rather bring him out as a usual sub.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's how you get the best of him.
What about Bichakjan, someone who at the club level has his output has been ridiculous, but
much more proven, and in playstyle is much more of a hybrid. While we have Spertsyan, who's more of a possession player, like a bowler that likes to have the possession at his feet and command the game. And on the other hand, we have Giro, who is a counter-attacking expert, like killer instincts. Well, Vahan is much more of a hybrid, and he has been proven in terms of experience and level. I think he's ready. I mean, he just has to keep being handed opportunities.
Okay. What do you think, Tito? What do you think about Vahan in terms of the national team?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say before. At least the game against Macedonia, I didn't like him at all. I think it was like a really bad game from him.
But he had very specific commands from Caparrós, to be honest.
But I don't. Again, I just every single time he was on the ball, he wasn't convincing to me in that match at all.
Do you remember the time he had that sitter to score, and basically the ball like made like kind of a weird bounce, and that's why he couldn't hit it. He was a little bit wasteful in offense, but everyone else was, to be honest.
No. Of course.
And his defensive output that day was marvelous. And I mean, I do not overestimate this. He was one of the reasons why, like, his covers were one of the reasons why we kept a clean sheet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's not the same case, but what I said about Haroyan, not that I don't want to see him. Of course, it's not the same, but at least in particular in that game, I didn't like him at all. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to see him on the next games. Just that I think that maybe he's in my starting lineup.
Okay. And
the reason, I mean, before we move on, the reason why I mentioned his defensive output, it's because that's actually one of the reasons why I am convinced that Vahan is way more of a complete and all-around player that could basically benefit of any game, any type of game. Yeah,
I see that. I definitely see that, and I definitely agree with Tito. I think Haroyan and Bicakcan shouldn't be starting. I just think they get lost. I think Bicakcan gets lost, and I think Haroyan is much more at this moment in time a better option off the bench because he brings a game-changing quality that we seem to be missing from a lot of our subs. I think because he's never afraid to. This guy dribbles past players for fun, like for breakfast. It's very easy and it's natural to him, and that's the type of attacking we want to see. Let me pick a couple of players that were in the previous squad, and players that I think have a lot more potential to achieve, but hadn't necessarily had the opportunity to show it yet. I want to start with Artem Avanessian, the forward for Ararat Armenia, who currently has a very good output of 4 goals and 2 assists in 7 matches. He seems to be starting every match for Ararat Armenia. He's participated in 25% of their goals so far this season. And he has shown to be a very good dribbler and a very good player to take the defense on the back foot, to play very forward. How do you see a player of one? Do you see Artem Avanessian coming back into the squad for the next set of qualifiers? 2, how can you best utilize a player like that? Because he's not the only player that we have that has that similar issue. Arshak is another player who we know he's quality, he's proven it, but he hasn't necessarily shown it for the national team. What needs to happen for that to be shown?
To be honest, I think you're wrong. I mean, I think Artem, and we joke around because he looks a lot like Tito, so we call him Tito Jr. I honestly think Artem did pretty well in the last window, and he was actually one of my highlights, one of my few positive highlights and things to take off of that tragic window.
Well, I mean, he didn't play much. He only featured late again in the match against Germany. But we do know how talented he is. I mean, in the last game for Ararat Armenia, he literally dribbled past like 3 people and to give a very, very good assist. And it's just I guess the greater point is not necessarily about the player themselves, but the fact that we do have this like plethora of talent that on any day like can murder most defenses, but for some reason, it just never really seems to manifest itself on the pitch for the national team.
Honestly,
I think that's a great picture.
Honestly, I think we are drawing a very big conclusion based on one single, very specific window about which we've actually already identified some of the key mistakes. Because before that window, we're talking about 2 consecutive windows and 6 games, I believe. And add to that the 2 friendlies that actually we didn't do all that bad.
Not at all.
Yeah, there you go. That you have like 10 months at least, uninterrupted months of solid performances and pretty good results. And yeah, I don't think last window is an indicator of anything regarding those players, especially Avanessian, who's very young, who needs to prove himself, but he's like in sick form at the IPL. I think, again, he's a very specific type of player, and given the right opportunities, I think he could do some real damage and showcase his talent to better leagues. Clearly, Caparrós sees something in him, and I can honestly say that for Artem's case, he was up to the challenge and he passed the test so far.
Okay, so the final point of discussion that I have for you guys, we'll start with you, Tito. You are Caparrós. How do you bounce back?
It's a tough question.
Give me the Pulitzer Prize already. Award-winning journalist over here. I only ask you the hard-hitting questions.
Of course, it's pretty obvious what I'm going to say, but of course we need to win these 2 matches. I think the match against Iceland, it's not want to say the easier one, but it
is
the least difficult one.
Yeah.
But we really need to win this next game, because if not, like I said before about our notes, if we don't win here, I think
we're done.
We are already out.
Yeah, because I think this is a good time to maybe transition and just let people know what the landscape is looking like right now, because we are currently second place in the table, and we do play Romania in this next window, who are right behind us, but also simultaneously Germany are hosting Romania, and if we manage to get the all-important 3 points against Iceland, the gap between Armenia and Romania goes from 1 point to 4 points, which makes that second match against Romania all that much more important, because it gives us the opportunity to make that gap from 4 points to 7 points, which effectively knocks Romania out of qualification. So, and also simultaneously, while we're playing Romania, Macedonia is hosting Germany, which is a very, very crucial match, because if Macedonia, who is playing first against Liechtenstein while we play Iceland, manages to get 3 points, just as we expect them to, they'll be right behind Armenia, if not ahead of us, if we don't beat Iceland. So it's very, very crucial that we get 6 points here. I would say a draw against Romania isn't the end of the world, but considering that our last match is against Germany, it can't happen, because we're not getting any points off of Germany in that last game.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that Germany, but that time would be qualified. They will score.
Their third strength.
8 goals without doubting.
They have like 4 different lineups they could play, they could deploy, and they would all be World Cup contenders. I think to build on what you guys are talking about and to wrap it up on my behalf, Caparros on the last window repeatedly highlighted the importance of experience. Fair enough. He had a chance to do that. We saw how it went. Now, I would propose, if I was on a one-on-one talk with him, I would propose maybe I like experience, who doesn't, very nice, but maybe try prioritizing the team this time. Maybe try prioritizing merit as he used to before this window. I'm certain that it's going to bring the results we want.
I hope so, because there's a lot of players that on merit should not be starting, and a lot that should be. Any other final thoughts from you guys before we wrap it up?
Honestly, no.
I think we are clear with this.
Good. Yeah. Well, Armenia.
I am not holding my breath for what's coming.
Yeah, I think as I was having a conversation with Armen a few days ago, I have no idea like how I feel about these matches. All I know is that whatever the result is, I mean, we've had, I would say, a much better qualifier so far than we had anticipated initially. We knew that there was a fight for second place. We knew that Armenia would be involved in that fight for second place, but I think some of the other results in the group have helped us a lot more than it had in the past. Hence why we are in the position that we're currently in second place of the group. But you know what? First match away to Iceland is going to be on October 8th. We should have a preview out for you guys before that game. We're going to be previewing both of the matches simultaneously this time. We're not going to do a recording in the middle, but rather one before and one after to just wrap it all up for you guys. So that's going to be it for Football Kentron. We will see you guys again in a week's time to preview the very, very important October qualifiers against Iceland and Romania, and provide any other updates. Until that time, I have been Armen on behalf of Tito. Wow, I said I have been Armen. Did you hear that?
Wow, you're me. You're me and I'm you. Wow. Where does that leave Tito?
This has been a long recording. Tito's Chadens. Thanks for listening. Yeah. Well, Tito's correcting me in the Google Docs right now as I'm wrapping this up. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Did we have fun?